Can you start an Amazon wholesale business for under $1,000?
Yes, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it because you'll grow very slowly and you'll lose motivation, and suppliers will be less inclined to work with someone that has a few $100s to spend, especially when they have businesses themselves that are spending tens of thousands of dollars with them.
When you think about it, just to start the business, you need a certain amount of software. You need an Amazon seller account that's gonna cost you about $40 a month. You need something to check the profitability, which is gonna cost you anywhere from about $20 to $40 a month. You need a UPC scanner to check the prices that you're gonna get from suppliers, $70 a month. And you also probably need a repricer, which is gonna cost you about $100 a month.
Yeah.
After all of that, you're talking 200 plus just on your software costs alone.
Yeah, and that leaves you a very little margin and very little room for error. Just that you wouldn't even make enough profit just to pay your phone bill with a few $100s.
Just to put numbers on it, let's just say you only had $1,000. You're spending over $200 on software. You only have about $700 to $750 just for inventory. Even if you're running a very good wholesale business and you have 25 to 30% margin, you're gonna be making around only $200 a month. So it's really gonna be a lot of effort for very little return on your capital.
Absolutely. And you have to remember, as a business owner, it is your responsibility to inject capital into your business and to raise capital and to optimize your business as well. And the only way to do that is by raising capital to grow your business, hire team members, get more software, because without that, you're going to lose motivation and eventually you're going to burn out.
And a big thing is you have to leave room for error when you're first starting a business. Going into the wholesale business, I think when I started in 2020 and joined the team, I came in with, let's just say about 2,500, which is a little too small of an amount, but it didn't leave me a lot of room to make mistakes. When capital got tied up in inventory, I didn't have much more to put into new inventory to bring income into the business.
Yeah, and don't make the mistake of thinking you're not going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes in this business. Till this day, we make mistakes. It's not a few $1,000s mistakes, it's tens of thousands of dollars. However, you need that capital for your education, basically, to fail forward.
Yeah, it's all about risk management. So what we really recommend, a good starting number for anyone trying to start an Amazon wholesale business, we aim for around $5,000. That'll leave you enough to spend your money on software. And the thing about software is we just came back from a conference with other wholesalers in Amazon, and everyone runs their business so differently. It's a very similar business model, but different people like different softwares that fit into their team. So 5,000 gives you enough that you can place large enough orders that the suppliers will pay attention to you, and leaves you enough room that if you make a mistake purchasing a certain product, too much capital isn't tied up there.
Yeah, and speaking on software, the software prices are increasing annually, right? But what you've been seeing, some softwares that we're using right now has increased by more than 100%. So software gets expensive, everything adds up, your prep costs, your overhead costs. So just keep that in mind and know your numbers while you're running an Amazon business.
Right, absolutely. I think to start off, what we recommend is, other than the $5,000, what you're gonna look to try to do is spread your capital, inventory capital, across about, let's say, 10 to 20 different ASINs or products. Because, like we said, if you run into that error, it will be a smaller part of your portfolio, and you'll be able to get the capital back from the other ASINs that you are selling profitably. One more thing we recommend is definitely spreading it across multiple suppliers. Aim for 2 or 3 when you first start off. Reason being, it's your first time getting in business with these suppliers. You really don't know how they operate. If they say they're gonna ship something, are they shipping it on time? Are they getting to you in good condition? So you're really mitigating your risk by spreading not only across ASINs, but across the people you're joining business with.
Absolutely. Just to piggyback off that, you do want to cast a wide net when it comes to your ASINs and products, instead of just going deep on one ASIN. And this is especially true for new sellers. We almost made a mistake when we first started of going $20,000 deep on one ASIN, and eventually we decided not to go with that ASIN. Come to find out, a few months later, the listing was taken down, the variation wasn't selling as well, and this is before we even knew about variations. So just to start off with, and just to piggyback off what Samar said, don't go too deep on one ASIN and cast a wide net with your suppliers and your products.
What we recommend is, just to reiterate, $5,000, spread it across 10 to 20 ASINs, and of course, 2 to 3 suppliers to start off.
There's plenty of ways where you can raise capital, right? You could use credit cards, you could use investors, and there's a lot of fintech companies that work with Amazon sellers for them to inject capital into their business.
When you first start, you're definitely going to want to jump into a business credit card. That is going to give you some room to put some of your softwares on the credit card. Some of your orders from suppliers, not all suppliers accept credit cards, so be aware of that. You will need some actual capital for some suppliers, but for the ones that do, you can obviously put them on credit cards, build those points, increase those credit limits. One card that's really pretty good because of the net 60 terms is the American Express Plum card, actually. So that gives you a net 60, meaning that when you purchase your inventory with this card, you can pay back with no interest as long as you pay back within 60 days. So that definitely will help you better your cash flow.
Absolutely. The 60 days is really helpful because by the time you get your products from your supplier, you pay with that credit card, and by the time it goes into Amazon, it might go into Amazon the 20th day. So you might not be able to flip your products in time to pay off that credit card the 30-day period. So that Plum card is very helpful for Amazon sellers.
Another card that's great is the Chase Business Inc., American Express Platinum. They're very good cards I have to run your business, and you should be looking into them when you first start off. You'll also run into some good lending options, but let's say Amazon offers sellers lending, but your account needs to be selling consistently for, I believe, 6 months at this time before they even make you an offer. But like Tay said, there's a lot of fintech companies coming out that offer very robust funding strategies that you won't always get a burst of capital at the beginning of your loan. Some of them structured into pay cycles. So as you have inventory come in, they'll provide you with capital. So there's a whole bunch of options out there in terms of funding your business.
And some of the interest rates that you receive aren't that attractive, and that might scare you. However, you need to understand that capital is going to help your business grow. Do you want 7% of 100,000 or 20% of 10,000? Right? So that's how you have to think about it. And don't forget that in order to grow, everything else is important: mindset, getting products, finding new suppliers. But once you find those suppliers, they're looking for capital, right? You could do everything else right, but if you're not spending money with them, they're not going to give you the deals and the opportunities for you to help grow your business.
Right. At the end of the day, this is a people business. No matter what business you're in, when you're dealing with other companies, other people, you want to make sure you maintain good relationships. And the number one thing to maintain good relationships is spending money with these suppliers. The more income that you put into their business, the better off they will treat you. That's going to come in the form of discounts, better terms. One of the great ways of funding a business are net 30 terms, meaning that a supplier will ship you the inventory and give you 30 days before you need to even pay it back, which is going to help you, obviously. If you can put in these $50,000, $100,000 orders that you don't need to pay up front, and this inventory is already selling at Amazon, generating you profit and a return on your cost of goods before you even pay your supplier, that definitely helps a business grow.
Absolutely. And initially, the supplier might tell you they don't do net 30. But once you start doing more and more business with them, as we had one supplier who said there's no way they do net 30, but now they're paying for our purchase orders, we're getting net 30s, net 60s from them. So once you foster that relationship with the supplier, which is very important, you'll get those terms. However, I always suggest, as soon as you get a new supplier, get on the phone with them and let them know your intentions. What do you intend to do? How much do you intend to spend? And how you want to grow as a business, and how they can help you grow as a business as well. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. Don't forget.
One thing we forgot to mention, but I think it's one of the most important ways to grow your business, is reinvesting your capital. When you first start this business, a lot of people that we see, a lot of other sellers, what they do is they take out as much capital as possible. They want to pay themselves as much as possible. But all that does is really limit your growth. The cheapest cost of capital is your own capital. There's no interest rate on that. It's your own money being put into your business. So you really want to focus on obviously paying yourself and taking care of whoever you have operating the business, but you want to make sure that you're putting capital back into the business to foster and accelerate your growth.
Absolutely. So we see a lot of people, once they get to that 6-figure range, you'll see Instagram videos of Lambos with all types of supercars. Don't do that. Reinvest your capital to grow your business, right? The more capital you inject into your business, and with the one supplier or two suppliers, the more opportunities come your way. Suppliers will hand you profitable items instead of you asking for it.
I think even for the first, 2 years of the business, we really didn't pay ourselves that much. Everything we had, I think we probably only took out 15 to 20% of the profit we generated each disbursement, which is a 2-week period, everything else went back into the business. Even right now, as we try to grow our businesses and grow our other businesses, we still put a substantial amount of our capital back into the business and back into our other ventures to make sure that they are growing.
Absolutely. We still don't pay ourselves that much as you would think, just so we could grow faster. We know we have this opportunity to grow, and we have this time frame to grow, and we know the more capital you inject into this business and all of our other businesses, the faster we'll grow, and then we'll start enjoying life with the Lambos and the Ferraris and everything else.
It's coming soon. Yeah. If anyone has any questions about anything we talked about, I know there's a lot of information, but if you have questions on what software you recommend to get started, how we can, maybe break down that 5,000, how we get spread even more for you, or some of the other funding options we mentioned, leave us a comment, subscribe. We're going to be sending out a lot more videos on how we structured our business when we got started and how we got to where we are. So leave us a comment, subscribe, and feel free to ask us any questions you have.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.